The Omni-King's greatest power is by speaking the language of nails on a chalkboard. Hello there, beautiful friends from around the world. I'm going to be your host, Blackenfist, and this is my episode 41 review. With the tournament finally over, with everything seemingly resolved, we get a surprise visit from, you guessed it, another deity of Dragon Ball. Even more super and grand this time, the Omni-King, who apparently rules over all 12 universes. The Omni-King scolds Beerus and Champa for neglecting their duties. But one thing that's very interesting is that although Beerus and Champa are kind of losing their crap and bowing down and completely kissing up to the Omni-King, Whis and Vado still remain relatively calm. I don't know why. Maybe they just don't feel the need to kiss up to him. Or maybe it's the fact that Beerus and Champa know they're in the wrong. Who knows what it is, but it could just be that they're just way too cool level-headed for that. Now, the Omni-King obviously has this very little cute design, and I guess he has a voice to match. Which, by the way, I wasn't a huge fan of. His voice sounds like nails on a chalkboard. It's trying to be super cute and high-pitched, but that's all I could think of when I was hearing his voice. Maybe I can't appreciate a good cute voice. That could also be a possibility. His voice was a bit too high-pitched for my taste. Thankfully, he's not in most of this episode and he leaves relatively quickly. I just couldn't help but think that with this very cute and small character design that the Omni-King has, that he would have such a deep, foreboding voice. Has a weird contrast, but oh well, we didn't get that. The Omni-King has apparently been watching the tournament from afar, and he liked it so much that he is going to assemble another tournament that is going to consist of fighters from all the universes. I really hope that that's not the next arc. I'm just gonna say that right now, because we just got done with doing this very same plot line, and I feel that this plotline is done. We have to move on to something else, something new. And the reason I really hope that there's not another tournament after this one is that just besides the obvious facts of doing the same thing back to back, there's also the issue that one of the biggest weaknesses I think that the Universe 6 arc has is that there's very little at stake for our main characters. What I'm talking really is Vegeta and Goku. Yes, the fate of the planet is kind of at stake, since it's going to be moved to Universe 6, but most of the cards are really with Beerus and Champa, and I feel that that kind of leaves the stakes for our characters that really we've been following this whole time, like Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, the guys we know. So I really hope that another tournament is not on the horizon. For now, at least. And a side note, since the Omni-King rules all 12 universes and apparently can destroy them all with a blink of an eye, probably making him the most powerful Dragon Ball character, I start to wonder if this is finally the limit. I mean, we're talking about huge universes, and considering the fact that we got a good sense of scale later on with Super Shenron of how huge this guy is. He made entire galaxies look like tiny little planets or asteroids, and that was just one universe, and considering that this guy can destroy them all with a blink of an eye, is that really the end? Is that the limit? Nah, I don't really think so, since we haven't seen Super Omni-King yet. Keep that between you and me, though. With the Omni-King departing, we finally get down to the prize that Universe 7 won, the Super Dragon Balls. And it turns out that the final Dragon Ball was under their feet the entire time. Literally, the entire planet they were fighting on was the last Super Dragon Ball. And now we have the summoning of Super Shenron, which I gotta say, I commend the character design of Super Shenron. Extremely unique, and I also like the gold aesthetic to it instead of a green one. It really differentiates itself from the other dragons, which I think is appropriate since this dragon is supposed to be so much more immensely powerful than the previous ones, and apparently he's the original. But I really doubt it since we still haven't seen Super Shenron God. Once again, keep that between you and me. The entrance of Super Shenron definitely is one of the more ridiculous, and not in a bad way, Dragon Ball moments in history. I mean, this guy almost takes up an entire universe's worth of space just for him to be in. In order to even speak to Super Shenron, you have to speak in the language of the gods, which is just normal speak or Japanese or with the common tongue, whatever it is, backwards. This is pretty much the same thing they did with Purunga back on Namek, where you had to speak to him in Namekian to make your wish. What can I say about that? This arc has been really recycling a lot of things from previous arcs, which I will get to and examine when I review this arc as a whole, whether that's a good thing, whether it's paying a good homage, or it's borrowing too much. We'll see about that. Sumitomo's score really steps up in high gear in this, but it's the same tracks that we heard before. Sumitomo, I feel, is a mixed bag. He's really let down the ball in this arc, in my opinion, big time. I have been a defender of how Sumitomo is, but I have to admit, his score has not been stellar this entire time. And although he did try to amp up the music with the arrival of Super Shenron, I felt that the grand entrance of such an event was worthy of a new song completely, and I was kind of disappointed to hear the same old song of epicness that we heard before. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but I felt that a new track was in order for this. So what was the wish? And honestly, that was one of the problems I think this arc had, not much at stake. I mean, we have these insanely powerful items, but what are we gonna do with them? Well, Beerus decides to give Universe 6's planet Earth back. Of course, Beerus feels a little embarrassed that he did something nice for Champa, and he lies to Bulma saying that he did something devious and terrible with the wish. Is this a big payoff? I mean, I don't know. Considering the fact that we haven't seen any of Universe 6's Earth, and I don't know if we're going to be exploring it later on, I don't know how much of a payoff this is. It seems a little weak and lackluster. I feel the conclusion of this arc really lacks a payoff in the end. I mean, yeah, Universe 7 won, but it kind of won in an awkward way, and I felt that was the biggest payoff we got. This wish was more of an aftertouch, which I guess is fine, but come on. Overall, I think this really brings the conclusion of this arc completely. We're introduced to much higher forces at this point, which could be or could not be the limit of how Dragon Ball goes. We'll see. It seems now that literally almost anything's the limit now with all these new universes and deities and characters. I mean, there's no telling how the story is going to go. But we do know that Aurelie is going to show up in a near future episode, so I'll be looking forward to that. But if you enjoyed this review, please subscribe to my channel, as I will be bringing you more Dragon Ball Super reviews as soon as they come out. And until next time, guys, I'm Blackenfist, and I'm out, man.